Battle, aka Nino's Corner, man. First off, if you like this content that's coming to you, go hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. I'm not gonna go through the normal intros that I always do because I got some people, from the other side. I'm gonna call them brothers from another, man. My boy Seth and Chris from the Horns Down podcast. Now I know Texas fans, it pains you to hear me say Horns Down, but these some good fellas, man. We're gonna kick it off and have a nice little talk today about OU and Texas going to the SEC. What's up, guys?
What's up, man? What's up? How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. Blessed and highly favored, and thanks to you guys for coming, man. Let's just get into it, man. How does OU and Texas play? Does OU and Texas play, guys, in the 2022 season? What's the time frame, guys? What do you guys think?
Well, I'll actually chime in on this. I would say there's about a 95% chance, in my opinion, there's about a 95% chance that OU and Texas are in the SEC, like in SEC play next season, 2022. I think everything has just moved way too fast. Obviously, this has reportedly been in the works now for 6+ months. So especially with the news. I think the news that gave me the most confidence in saying that is a couple days ago that I saw, maybe it was a day ago, that the money that ESPN still owes Texas for the LHN contract,
$160 million.
Yeah, they're going to use that. OU Texas is going to use that money to help the buyout from the Big 12. So I mean, if they're already talking that, if we're already hearing that as the public,
it's a wrap.
I don't see the Big 12 beyond 2021, including OU and Texas. But maybe that's just me. But
hey, man, Seth, I'm gonna tell you something. When I read that about the $160 million, man, and I'm thinking to myself, is Texas gonna help OU get out the Big 12? Are we gonna use this to help you guys get out the Big 12 too?
What I would say is that a lot of people have been thinking about this in terms of numbers. I think it's well publicized that the two ways that they can get out is obviously what Seth said, and then the next way is just wait it out and see. The Big 12 could dissolve tomorrow. I think today has kind of been a long day for everybody because we're just waiting to see what the SEC does. How do they respond? So I mean, OU and Texas really pulled everybody's card in the Big 12, and they basically just said like, hey, we're out. See you guys. You guys do good on your own. So I mean, I think that they do play in 2022. At worst, 2023, but I think in 2022 they will be playing an SEC schedule simply because I mean you have ESPN and back channels basically putting pressure not only on, I mean, they're putting pressure on everybody, Fox Sports, the Big 12, the SEC, because they want this to happen. When you hear that they're willing to renegotiate a $3 billion deal with the SEC for TV rights, come on now. What does that say to you?
It says that it's about to happen next year, man. I'm with you, Chris. At the latest,
my last point I just want to point out is that it's not Texas helping OU, it's OU helping Texas. Okay. All right. Just want to get that out there. All right.
Hey, okay. Both brands stand on their own, right? We could do whatever we want. Both brands could, but it always is better when Texas and OU are playing against each other or in the same conference. It just makes sense, man. Like, you guys are our biggest rival. We're you guys' biggest rival. Texas A&M thinks they're our biggest rival, but they're not. You guys are. Pretty sure, like Okie State thinks that they're you guys' biggest rival. It's not. We all know when we get down to the Cotton Bowl, man, the old Cotton Bowl, and that stadium is split half and half. That is the rivalry between these two schools, man. But yeah, I'm with you guys, man. 2023 at the latest. Too much money to be involved, right? Even with the SEC, if Texas and OU goes over there, man, there's a chance that every team in the SEC can make $70 million from a split. $70 million, upwards of $70 million. That's a lot of money. That's $15 million more than what these teams are making now. right? So, money talks and BS walks, right? So everybody wants this to happen. We got the money with the failing channel that we got. I'm going to admit the Longhorn Network is not what it should have been, right? It's not what Texas fans thought that it was going to be, but it was a trailblazer to kind of start the SEC network, the ACC network. It was basically the first thing that was there, and people said, this sucks from it. Let's take that out of it, and let's make this network. But they do owe us a lot of money on it, and if we can leverage that money to get into the SEC, that's perfect, man.
I would say the best thing about the Longhorn Network is turning directly to that channel after a tough loss for Texas. Seeing Ricky Williams.
Chris, you pulling punches.
Look, seeing Ricky Williams on there with his helmet of a head go this way and that way in confusion is priceless. Look, I would pay money for them to keep the Longhorn Network simply for that fact right there. I'm just saying.
Don't be talking about Ricky like that, man. Don't be talking about Ricky like that. All right? Hey, man, but this is staying with the Big 12 talk, man. So what happens to the rest of the Big 12, right? So we know Texas No U's gone by 2022, 2023 at the latest. What happens to the rest of the Big 12?
I Seth, I'm gonna jump in here. I think it's really interesting because I've talked to some people, especially my uncle about this, and he said we talk every day about this whenever I get a lunch break. But God, dog, the Big 12 is in disarray. I mean, the American Athletic Conference, they want to come and get teams. The Pac-12 is trying to poach teams. The Big 10 is trying to poach teams. I feel like one of the things that people should know is that, people have linked Texas Tech with the Pac-12, which, I guess that could work. They've linked OSU with the Pac. It doesn't work because of the times, You have to tell, I know a lot of OSU fans have really went in on it on Twitter as far as hey, we don't want 9 a.m. games and we don't want to play it 10 p.m. games as well. Nobody's going to watch that, And I think another interesting fact about the Pac-12 is that teams like Baylor and TCU have been linked to them, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Pac-12 has something in their bylaws about religious schools being affiliated with the Pac-12. Yeah. So that's a point to definitely not overlook. But when you look at it, you're saying that, you're probably looking at OSU, Iowa State, and Kansas going to the Big Ten. You're looking at Baylor, TCU, and K-State possibly going to either the American, the Mountain West. There's all types of stuff, out there about them. And as far as Texas Tech, I really don't know. But, Seth, maybe you have a better, idea of where most of those teams go.
If we're going to assume that the 8 teams that are in the Big 12 that aren't part of this, a Big 12 to SEC deal like OU and Texas are, if we're to assume that those teams are going to stay at the Power 5 level, it's not going to be, in my opinion, I don't think we're going to stay at 5. I think we're going to eventually shift to 4 super conferences. But how they divide up from there, I've heard a lot of Texas Tech to Pac-12 as far as that's kind of a lot of people are kind of making that fit, and I don't know, we'll see. It's definitely going to be a challenge. It's going to be kind of like the same thing as West Virginia and being in the Big 12, in my opinion. Yeah. Then I think West Virginia is a natural fit if they're going to leave for the ACC, and then the only 2 teams that I'm confident in saying that they would fit in the Big 10 as far as at least from an athletic standpoint, whether it's football or basketball, is Iowa State and Kansas, but. In Kansas, obviously, for the basketball program, because we all know what they are in football. But the team that I'm mostly worried about out of all of this is honestly Kansas State, because I don't know if they're valuable enough in really any athletic program from an athletic program's standpoint. And it just doesn't seem like there's a really natural kind of slam dunk fit for them. And then on the other end of the spectrum with Oklahoma State, I don't know if there's a natural fit, but they're on the opposite end of the Kansas State spectrum, where I feel like they are very valuable as an athletic program. It's a very solid football, basketball, baseball, softball, etc. But just geographically, they're going to be. I feel like they're going to be kind of an outlier wherever they end up, since it's not going to be in the SEC, at least not not anytime soon, unless they want to expand beyond 16. Which even if they do that, I feel like SEC is just going to look east instead of further west or another Oklahoma team. So those are kind of my thoughts on what might happen. And like y'all brought up, TCU and Baylor being like the private religious schools. I don't really know where they fit either. I mean, I know a lot of people wouldn't care if Baylor just kind of fell off the face of the planet.
That's off a cliff somewhere.
That's probably the school that a lot of people aren't too worried about unless they're Baylor fans. But everyone else, I don't know.
Seth, I was going to
Poor
say,
Dave Aranda, man. Poor Dave Aranda. He just got that job. Got a nice raise to go over there, and then the conference disbands, and he's already at Baylor. That's one strike, and then there's no conference the next year. It's just crazy over there, man. I feel really bad for him, to be honest.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy.
Hey, hear me out on this. All right, K-State to the Sun Belt Conference.
Come on, Conference USA at least.
Hey, I got one more. Hear me out on this. Kansas to the Big Ten for every sport except for football. Football, they go to the FCS. I think that's magic.
I mean,
I think everybody wins in that situation.
I mean, there's like a slight precedent for something like that, because I don't know if it's still going on, but I know at some point in wrestling, North Dakota State wrestling was in the Big 12, but obviously they're an FCS football team. Yeah. So maybe we could see something like that where they just leave Kansas basketball and some other sports at the Division I, like 1A level, and then just leave football. I don't know. They might even be better just cutting football. Like, honestly, Lance Leipold, I think, is a good coach. They just got him this after all the Les Miles drama that happened this offseason, which seems like forever ago when we got all this going on, in the last week. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't see Kansas football being worth moving a bunch of big pieces for a long time.
Yeah, I'm with you. So, the whole Texas Tech thing, this is what gets me. Texas Tech going to the Pac-12. Is that going to happen? I don't know if that's really going to happen, because, the Pac-12 is really big on the academic side of the house, right? They're really big on the academic side of the house. And Texas Tech, nothing against them. I got friends who went to Tech, but when you start to stack it up against USC and a Cal Berkeley and a Stanford, something, one of these is not like the other, right? But I can see it fitting too, because Texas Tech, just a little bit of Texas market that is there. California is going to try to get whatever's left over from the SEC, right? Because now the SEC has the whole Texas market, with the South. I mean, they're going to get East Texas, they're going to get Dallas, Austin, they're going to get Houston. But any little bit of piece, like if Texas Tech has a small smidgen, the Pac-12 can come in and scoop that up. But as far as like the academic side of the house, I just don't know if the Pac is going to really want them to come to the conference just because of the academics. Oklahoma State's tricky, though. I think Oklahoma State would be a nice fit for them if they want to have that 11 o'clock time slot, right? That's one thing that the Pac-12 is missing right now. They don't have any 11 o'clock time slots because of the way that the games are, right? Right. So I was saying, I was in Cali, for 4 years, and I remember watching games starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. And they would end at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Like they were done. Like every game was done. Mine is like the Pac-12 after dark game that nobody wanted to watch, right? But like all the games, dude, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning and 6 at night, and I was like still able to go out with the wife, go party, go get something to eat, whatever we want to do. But they are missing that 11 o'clock time slot. And if they get a team like Okie State, they can have somebody in that time slot every other week. you know, so that can increase their revenue because their network is failing. Like their network is horrible.
But who is
Conference
going?
champions.
OSU, exactly. I couldn't believe that their president got up there and really gave that speech like, well, we have a historic run of championships, and we're not proactively seeking teams. I was like, yes, you are. But I don't necessarily think that OSU fans would be happy about 11-day kickoffs, you know, weekly, every week. You know, they definitely enjoy their tailgating down there. I would say, staying in that same topic, y'all, can we not place all of the blame squarely on the shoulders of Bob Bowlsby? I know a lot of people want to, you know, say, oh, well, nobody gets excited about seeing OU play K-State. Who cares about Texas, you know, playing Kansas and Iowa State and those teams? Granted, Iowa State is relevant this year, and we all agree on that. But you know, I think Bob Bowlsby, he missed it. He missed his chance years and years ago. You had teams like Florida State who expressed interest. You had the whole state of freaking Florida almost. You had a bunch of those teams like South Florida, UCF. Not
UCF
even just
one. He bought it.
Yeah, you had teams out there, Louisville, Yeah, you had people calling for BYU to come in, and granted, there was a lot of presidents who were like, "No, let's not do this." But I know David Bourne was really, really proactive and you know, trying to get those teams. Bob Bowlsby, I would say that the blame falls squarely on his shoulders because he missed several chances to improve this league, and not only with those teams. We can say what we want to say about South Florida. We can say what we want to say about UCF. However, getting into those regions for recruiting and TV exposure and all other types of you know, financial avenues, you really missed your chance back then to really show OU and Texas that, hey, we're trying to make an effort, but you got to work with us. OU is, I feel like, granted, you know, I feel like we have more tradition than Texas, but OU,
child, please.
OU has became the blue collar worker, you know, that lunch pail type of let's work our way to success, and we want to show you the path. Okay, Texas has always been arrogant because they got money. Okay, so we got
the money. We the Joneses, baby. The money. We the Joneses.
But I feel like Bob Bowlsby, though, he really missed his chance to make a mark back in the day. Back when we were all in our, late teens, early teens, getting through college or whatever what we were doing, you know, he missed his mark.
He definitely did, man. Not getting that Florida market. I mean, hey, it was staring us right there in the face. Like UCF wanted to be in the conference. South Florida wanted to be in the conference. I mean, it was right there in our face, screaming, "Come get me!" Not getting Louisville, like you said, Chris. Come on, man. Like Louisville, I mean, they're actually doing really well in the ACC. They had a Heisman Trophy winner. You know, they played some good ball over there, man. So, you know, just imagine if we would have had a Louisville and, you know, you get a Lamar Jackson in the conference and you have him doing this thing. I mean, it just brings so much more excitement to the conference. And he totally botched it, man. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he was doing, what he was drinking, whatever, but he botched the whole situation when it came to expanding the Big 12. So, guys, one quick question, man. Now, I've been hearing a lot of this from the SEC folks. You know, I'm from SEC country. I was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana. My mom's a diehard LSU fan. My wife's from Alabama. She's an Alabama. She roll tides all day long. They say roll tide for every damn thing. Like, they see each other roll tide. I'm like, man, come on, man, get on with that. Both my sister-in-laws went to Alabama. My nieces graduated from Alabama, both of them. And they're all telling me Texas and OU are over their heads when it comes to being in the SEC. And my first thought on that was, y'all said the same thing about Missouri. You said the same thing about Texas A&M. And they came in and wrecked y'all league for the first 3 years.
First off, all right. I'm gonna take up for Texas fans right here. They'll come in here speaking that Jimbo Fisher bull crap. Jimbo Fisher, outside of that year with Jameis Winston, those 2 years, he's a notorious 8-5 coach. Okay,
8-5.
He is, I think, 29-10 in the past 3 seasons at Texas A&M. The only good year he has had is a COVID year, and they still weren't good enough to make the playoffs. And I'm telling you now, I know for a fact there were coaches on that. There were voters on that panel as far as the college playoff, looking at OSU taking them extremely seriously, basically saying like, hey, they could jump Texas A&M. They are playing the best football out of anybody right now. They're the hottest team in America. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but with that said, I don't think OU and Texas are over their head. You got to look at it. You know Bama's going to be a juggernaut. Okay? So Bama's going to be that one team that you say, all right, you say that about Florida and Georgia every year. All right, if they want to make the playoff, they got to beat Bama in that championship game. But here's the deal, and here's what people have to understand. The SEC has always been top heavy. You have Bama, Georgia, Florida, and LSU. Yep. Okay? Now you can throw in Texas A&M. Texas A&M is going to take a cut. Okay, they're going to take a cut in recruiting. They're going to take a cut in a lot of different areas because OU and Texas are back. Second of all, when you start looking at teams like you look at LSU. LSU is likely going to be on probation for a whole bunch of infractions that they've had. And they may be minor infractions, but LSU is taking a hit. That was a great year that they had. But we don't really know what Ed Orgeron is as a coach. He had a great year. He had a terrible year. What is this year going to be?
That was lightning in the bottle, man. That was lightning in the bottle. That was the passing game coordinator from the Saints who came in and revamped that offense. And now that he left, that team ain't nothing on offense.
Exactly. So now, I mean, they're on their fifth leg, their fifth wheel with quarterbacks. But then when you look at Georgia, you're saying to yourself time and time again, and Seth, you know where I'm going with this. Kirby Smart is not that smart. We don't know what he's going to do with that team. All right. He's just like Coach Gundy. He will not give the reins up to the offense. Todd Monken has came in there and he's supposed to be the second coming of Jesus with the offense. But I'm just going to say this. I'm not a big believer in JT Daniels. And with them losing George Pickens Jr., I think that is a huge loss that nobody's talking about. I get that you have two monsters of tight ends, but at the same time, everybody's not going to be scared of you running a twin package with them. You have a great backfield of a plethora of running backs, but at the same time, we know the constant result in Georgia. Great recruiting, no results on the field. And then Florida, Seth, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna let you go. But with Florida, come on, man. Come on, man. Hey,
y'all just beat Florida. Y'all tore them down, didn't you?
Hi, Dan.
That was bad.
Yeah. For people who are questioning of whether or not OU and Texas are in over their heads going into the SEC grind, I think they'll be surprised, and I think it's going to be like you said. Like that's a good point when you bring up about like Missouri and Texas A&M and how they did in their first few years into the SEC. You know, they definitely surprised a lot of people because they weren't even that good. You know, in the last few years that they were in the Big 12. You know, I know Missouri had some good years, but that was in like 2008, 2007, whenever they were like last like a legit threat in the Big 12, and then. As soon as they get to the SEC, they're like in the SEC championship game in back-to-back years. Same with A&M. They like you said, Johnny Football shocking the nation, beating Alabama and Tuscaloosa, and doing everything he did. So I think we'll see something similar to that as far as OU and Texas, and especially with OU. Just speaking, since I'm more familiar with the OU side of things and what OU's working with, and we're a year away at least from like. So a lot of things are going to be different. You know, we probably won't have Spencer Rattler and a bunch of other people. But with what Lincoln Riley has built, going into now his like fourth season or fifth season, I guess now, as a head coach, and then what Alex Grinch is building on defense. This is a team that can and will compete with the best of the best. And yeah, the SEC, it is the best conference overall. Their middle of the road teams are no better than a lot of other Power 5 middle of the road teams. They're very top heavy, and yeah, Alabama's the king. I'll give them that. Yeah. Georgia's got a great defense. Florida, they can be good whenever they don't use their scout team. LSU, had that one amazing year. Yeah, that might have been arguably the best college football season from a team we've ever seen, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'll give them all that, but a schedule isn't made up of 12 of those kind of games, and that's where I think a lot of SEC people they see what OU's done in the playoffs and against Alabama and Georgia and LSU, and they say, oh, that's what they're going to do. They just fall flat on their face and they're going to get blown out. But they'll play that kind of level of opponent twice a year, maybe 3 times if they get to the SEC championship game. But everything else is very winnable. Same goes for Texas. We've seen Texas. Especially under Tom Herman, he rose up every time.
They beat the SEC. They gone in and beat Georgia. Beat Missouri. They gone in and beat the most high potent offense the SEC has ever seen in Missouri. Yeah. Shut them down. They were like we've seen what can happen.
Yeah, I would argue that Texas probably gave LSU, back in 2019, maybe its toughest game for sure out of anybody that whole season. That came down to the wire. So it's different when leagues start playing other leagues, especially when you're not familiar with your opponent. Like it being in the Big 12, teams after several years, you just know the opponent. Like coaches just build a familiarity with their opponents, and it's going to be different. So yeah, like OU and Texas are going to have to do that for all their opponents. They're all going to be new to them, and mostly it goes both ways. And I think that's why we're going to see relative amount of success, at least right out of the gate. Like it's definitely not going to be some situation where they're going 6-6 or 7-5 and just struggling to get to a bowl game. Like there's going to be some raised eyebrows on the Paul Feinbaum show and whatnot. People are like, well, wait a minute, what are we watching here? But they're coming.
Yeah. Hey man, I totally agree with you because first off, it's not going to be 6-6 because the SEC schedules north, south, eastern direction school for 3 games a season. So we're gonna get the northern Illinois Mountain West to the North Dakota State School the first game of the season, and then after that we're gonna get South Dakota A&M somebody for the second game. The game prior to our game will probably be playing against Lamar or somebody. That's what A&M did 2 years ago. But hey, I agree with you guys, man, because when you start to look at just the middle, pack, you got Ole Miss, you got Mississippi State, you got Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt, right? Come on, you got Missouri, you got South Carolina. You got Kentucky that's good every now and then, but usually they're not that good. You're talking about
Tennessee.
Tennessee. God, I forgot Tennessee. That's how bad Tennessee's been. We just named off 7 teams, 7 out of the 14 original teams in that conference that are, let's just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? And so, I hate hearing people say this SEC gauntlet. Yes, it is the toughest conference because it's the most top-heavy conference. You do have your Bamas, and as long as Nick Saban's there, Bama's going to be on a roll. It is what it is. You do have LSU, who is hit or miss, but one thing about LSU, they're going to always bring a good defensive line and a good O-line. So they're always going to be really good at just straight in the trenches. Georgia's always good, but they just can't get to the next step, right? They're can't get right? So they can get up there to the top, but they can't cross it, right? And then after that, Florida's hit or miss too. Just over the past honestly 5 or 6 years, they've been hit or miss. And so yeah, it is Bama, and Bama's been carrying the weight over there for the longest. It is what it is. We all know it. And it just is what it is. But I also think that Texas and OU are going to do really well for these first couple of years because now with this announcement that both teams are going to the SEC, this is going to essentially close the borders here in Texas, man. Because now these kids who don't want to go to College Station, right? They can say, "Oh, I can go to OU or Texas." Like I can still go and still play in the SEC, and like I don't have to go to Bama, and I don't have to go to LSU. My mom can still drive to see all my games, and then a couple games in state also, like A&M, and so this gives opportunity for Texas to close the borders, to where it's only going to be Texas A&M, and OU feeding off this Texas talent, and there's enough talent in that state to go around, and you won't have, in my opinion, as many kids jumping ship to go to Alabama, going to Florida, going to Ohio State that comes in and takes all the talent that they want out of Texas, because we simply just don't play the talented teams like they do. So us going straight into the SEC allows us to close those borders just a little bit more, and it's going to cause us to keep the talent there, which is going to make the transition for us a lot easier than what people think.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, just to piggyback on Seth's point first. You got to think it's a difference having a month to prepare for a Lincoln Riley offense with a terrible defense. But now you got 3 days to prepare for a Lincoln Riley offense, and then Grinch is coming out there with a system that's going pretty fast. If Sark brings that structure that we've talked about time and time again, Seth, to Texas, and especially if he's given enough time to get the athletes that he wants in there, I mean, you're talking. He just had the most explosive offense in the nation last year with Alabama. So you're gonna have to get Alabama talent though. But at the same time, if you keep those kids in there, you're telling a lot. You're putting a lot of pressure on those teams, because the thing is that, and you're correct, because the big point here is that Missouri and Texas A&M have came in and had a bunch of success in your league, and they ran spread offenses, but there ain't nothing like what Lincoln is running over there in Norman. And I'll even say Sark. There's nothing like what Sark was running last year, especially at Alabama. So it's going to be hell on wheels. As I guess to offer some comedic relief, what I would say is that, I said it on my Twitter. I mean, this got me to actually tweet. I don't even really tweet like that, but it got me to actually go on Twitter and say some stuff. But I've seen this before, and I don't know how many of your viewers or how many of the people listening to our podcast are big WWF fans. But back in the day, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went to WCW as the outsiders. All right. Yeah. They came there. People stuck their hands out. They slapped their hands. People told them, "Hey, kiss my baby." They walked right past them. OU and Texas are coming for blood and championships. They're not coming to be all happy because they're in the SEC. If you want that, go to Texas A&M. Go to College Station. That's where they're happy to be in the SEC. They're happy to have that banner. We don't care about the banner. We want championships. We want to go play with the big boys. This is one thing I would say about Texas and OU. People are acting like, okay, it's sweet around here. OU and Texas, granted, I think it was too far out. They scheduled Alabama and all these teams in the SEC, so it's not like they were ducking them.
Ain't like we're scared.
Now,
you know what I'm saying? Ain't like we're scared.
Now, just like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall did, they're going over there to raise hell. Let's bring it to you a little bit earlier than what you expected. So this is the thing. You got a big brand, and then you got a winning brand.
Oh, come on, man. Hey, don't hate on that last decade, all right? I was not responsible for Charlie Strong. I was not responsible for Tom Herman, all right? I'm tired of changing coaches, all right? I'm tired of changing coaches. We're going to be all right, though.
What's the next one, man? Run me to the next one.
Man, you a fool, man. Yeah. All right, man. So, hey, we all know, man, that the SEC, the tailgating is off the chain. I mean, to me, it's like none other, man. So I'm a Louisiana kid. I was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana. I can't wait to go down to Baton Rouge. I was anticipating going to Baton Rouge this past year, and then COVID hit, right? So, what are the matchups that you guys want to see? What's your favorite tailgate that you think that you're going to want to go see in the SEC?
Man, I mean, from what I've seen, it looks like the scene down at Ole Miss, down there in Oxford, Mississippi, the Grove is what I believe is what they call it. That place looks like it's pretty. They got like chandeliers hanging down from tents and stuff. They got all the platters and the lineups. It's just you're gonna get what you want as far as whatever you want to dine on. But then like it just looks like it's a very kind of a familial atmosphere. So if I was ever going to go wanting to go tailgating in some kind of a SEC country, I think that'd be an OU Ole Miss kind of game. But as far as like with like a matchup, this might be. I mean, we've this team has been in the news just as much as OU and Texas, just because of over this last couple of weeks, just because of where what happened. And I can't wait to rematch with Texas A&M again. I mean, out of all the teams, like. Honestly, I would be more excited going into OU Texas A&M week than let's say like an OU Alabama week. I don't know why. I think it's just the fans or something. It's
the history, man.
It's the history. It's the trash talk. Like because like Alabama's the big dog and everybody knows it. So it's almost like it would be very exciting if OU were to win a game like that, but. I wouldn't have as much fun like on the social side of it, as I would if just beating down on A&M or something after all this mess that's gone down and after all the crying they've done, I mean, and they want to talk about like not being afraid of competition or anything over the last decade, but as soon as this news broke, the only ones that have been crying and complaining and whining out of anybody. It's been A&M, and so like that's the matchup that I cannot wait. As soon as they finally release these schedules, whenever it is, sometime next year, the year after, I'm gonna circle that one. If it works out that way, because they still got to determine if they're gonna do pods or whatnot. But I think it needs to be on that first schedule at least if they can make it happen.
Yeah. So how about you, Chris?
I guess I was over here thinking the whole time. I was like, all right, so we already own property in Missouri. We own property in College Station. When we go out down there in our second home in Dallas, Oklahoma to play a Jerry.
Hold on, player. Hold on, player. Hey, look, I'm just saying. Hold on, player.
Look, so we got those three places. I guess Neyland Stadium, we own that place now.
It'd be fun to watch that one. Another OU Tennessee.
I would say, I think you were supposed to get that matchup. Was it not?
Oh, that's right. It was supposed to be last season. Yeah.
So I think, let's see. I would say probably Ole Miss just because I've heard so much about it. As far as like a tailgate. I know, Tuscaloosa, I mean, as hot as it is down there, I still probably want to go. But I think as far as a matchup, man, it's something about, I've always thought about, okay, what if OU, Texas, and OSU went to the SEC? Because you got to think about it. You would have Auburn at 2:30 coming to Stillwater. And then the 8 o'clock ABC game would be Bama coming to Norman, like under the lights, the palace on the prairie. Come on now, hey! If that don't get you riled up, I don't know what will, man. That's whew, boy. Hey, that gets me riled up right there, boy.
Hey, I am just, Seth. I'm gonna piggyback on you, man. I am so ready for the Texas A&M rivalry to be renewed, man. I got friends with the A&M and all the smack talk. Y'all don't want it. I mean, this is prior to the SEC decision, right? And y'all scared, and you guys are scared. And we all know Crystal Conte, our AD has basically been trying to get this game on the schedule since he came in. He's telling A&M, hey, replace Prairie View with us. Do it. I mean, honestly, Texas and Texas A&M, that rivalry should have never went away. It should be just like South Carolina and Clemson have every year, right? To where they play every year. It is what it is. It should be the same thing. Texas and Texas, A&M should be playing every year regardless of conference. But now, I don't think the players are scared, Seth. They've been on Twitter and social media saying, hey, let's bring it. It's the coach, it's the AD, it's the president, it's all the decision makers that have been so butthurt, which is like really been getting at me, man. Because it's just like you guys have talked so much mess about we're not ready to play you guys, and we've been saying that you guys are scared to play us. This just validates all Texas and OU fans' opinions about what A&M was, and I get it. I mean, look, I totally get it. A&M left early. They left to go to the SEC 10 years ago because they wanted to get out of the shadow of us, get out of the shadow of OU as well, because they wanted to find their own footing, right? And they go to the SEC, they get their Heisman Trophy winner, they start to have some, like some kind of success. They have this COVID year here. They finish 5th in the nation. Everything's looking good for them. And as soon as, they start to recruit better and everything's looking good and grand and great for them, it's like big brother and big cousin come over and say, hey, man, hey, bro, we coming home. We coming home, man. I was on tour in the military overseas. I'm back home now, baby. You know what I'm saying? So, I totally get it why they mad, because A&M understands the complexity that it is when you have Texas and OU back in your backfield again. They know that they got to fight for every scrap right now. It's not that they don't have that one chip to say, hey, OU in Texas, yeah, I know you've been a Texas fan your whole life. I know OU's balling out of control right now, but they don't play the best talent. They ain't in the SEC. They can't say that anymore.
They can't. They can't say that.
Nope.
They
can't say that anymore.
I was just going to say, I was just sorry to cut you off, but I was going to say, just look at it right here. Just pointing back to what Jimbo Fisher said at the SEC, media days. It really struck me as odd. It really struck me as this is guy he may be delusional, and it really just offended me. Okay, he had the nerve to say, "Be careful for what you wish for coming into this league." What have you done in the time that you've been there? Okay, you have a 26-10 record. First year in the SEC. Your first year in the SEC as the head coach of Texas A&M, 2018. You went 9-4, 5-3 in this league. Let's go to 2019 and see what your results were. So in 2019, I believe they went 8-5 and 4-4 in the league.
So, hey, Chris, let me stop you real quick. So they went 5-3 the first year in the league, and they had the 4 cupcake games that they have out of conference every year, right? So that's how you get to see. That's the big misconception about the SEC too. Everybody looks at the records and they don't understand that they are one of the only conferences to play 4 out of conference games because the SEC is so tough, right? But you play Lamar, Prairie View, Southwestern, North Dakota State, like I said before, and Northern Illinois to the damn Plutonic or something, school. So you play 4 cupcakes every year, and so every year you got all you need is 2 games to win in the SEC to get to a playoff. Well, no, I'm sorry, just get to a bowl game. All you got to win is 2 games, 2 games in conference to get to a bowl game. So it oversaturates all their teams. All their teams aren't that good. I mean, let's just keep it real. When you got 4 out of conference cupcakes, it's easy to go to a bowl game, man. This is what it is. Okay, I'm done. I'm off my rant. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so the first game back in 2020, they play Vanderbilt and they only win by 5 points. Then they go on the road to Texas A&M and they get beat by 28 points. The next game, they come back home against, I would say, a sorry Florida team or a good Florida team at the time, depending on the time of the season. They beat them by 3 points. Then you go on the road and beat Mississippi State. You come back home and beat Arkansas. You go on the road and you blow out South Carolina. Will Muschamp.
Everybody blows out South Carolina.
Yeah. And then you only beat a terrible LSU team by 13 points. And trust me, you got to go there the last game of the season, so that'd be interesting. You beat Auburn by 11 points, and Bo Picks is there, so I mean, it's not really.
Yeah,
and just to inform your audience, that's what we call him on the Horns Down podcast, Bo Picks. We will not recognize him by his actual name until he can. I mean, look, Tony Romo was like known as Apple Turnovers where I'm from, but
hey, I'm with you.
Bo Picks.
Damn, Romo.
So then the last game of the regular season, and they played a full SEC conference. They beat Tennessee by 21 points, and then they ended up beating North Carolina in the bowl game. That doesn't impress me, son. It doesn't at all. That famous meme or that famous video that's been going around, lately. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy.
You're not that guy.
You're not that guy.
Hey, Chris. So, hey, man, let me backdoor that with, every time Texas or OU plays a team from the SEC, my A&M friends always call me and say, "Well, Georgia, they had like 3 players missing that game, or they didn't want to be there." Or Florida last year, they had 4 starters out in that game, so I'm not counting that. Well, A&M, North Carolina was missing 3 of their top guys last year, and it came down to the last minute to win the game. So I don't want to hear nothing about these teams didn't want to be there. They didn't have their guys. Mac Brown didn't have literally 3 of his go-to guys in that game, and they still almost won the game. A&M got lucky with that run at the end to win the game, but it is what it is. So I don't want to hear nothing about they didn't want to be there. They had nothing to play for. Miss me with that. Texas and OU coming to the SEC. Big brother and big cousin, we coming. And we coming to the barbecue. And we want all the brisket. All the brisket and all the ribs. And talking about brisket, since you OU guys, hey, man, tell Nick and Riley stop boiling them damn briskets, man. We don't like no boiled briskets in Texas, man. That brisket look garbage. You know that. Come on, Chris.
I can't defend that brisket. I can't defend
it. They said he bought the brisket in Austin. So I should.
He brought it at HEB.
Yeah, he bought it at HEB down there. He brought it back. He didn't put it in a cooler on the way back, so that's why the texture looked a little bit off.
He didn't let it rest in the cooler. He didn't let it rest.
Yeah, he rested in the cooler. Yeah, he drove 6 straight hours back to Norman, saying, "Hey, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Just put it in the freezer when we get home."
Are we thinking? Are we all here thinking that as soon as OU and Texas enter the SEC, they're going to bump that conference schedule up to 9 games, 9 conference games for each team?
Yeah, they have to.
I feel like they have to as well.
Yeah, they have to. So this leads us to the next topic, man. Just the pod situation, right? So with the pods, right? They're talking about 4 different pods. So that's what's been floating around here. So honestly, if it's 4 pods, you got to look at that as like the NFC, right? So you got the NFC East, the NFC North, the South, and the West. And so in those 4 pods, you play everybody in your pod, right? And then you play 2 games from the other pods. So that gives you 9 games right there. So it has to be 9 games. We can't do this 8-game crap of, folks, especially with 16 teams. Come on, man. You got to get the fans their money's worth, man. I don't want to see Nickel State play nobody no more. I don't want to see McNeese. I don't.
The Citadel.
Yeah, man. They got too much talent. I mean, they got too much talent there in the league and too many brands, man, to where, instead of Nickel State versus Texas A&M, let's do Texas, A&M versus OU that week, or something, man. They got to figure out something with that. But yeah, over to you guys on that, man.
As far as the pod talk, I'm not really a big fan of it. But I guess if you were asking a question of who should be in the in OU and Texas pod, I believe you should put OU and Texas together, obviously. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, you just throw in Texas A&M and Missouri," and I'm like, not so bad.
No,
A&M and Arkansas. A&M and Arkansas.
I think Arkansas.
I think you would throw in Texas A&M and Arkansas. You might be able to get away with throwing in like a LSU or Mississippi State or Ole Miss, you could throw one of those in there and just say, "Hey, we're gonna put y'all on the gauntlet. You guys got to play each other every year." But, I mean, realistically speaking, though, you'll probably put Texas, OU, Arkansas, and Texas A&M in there. I don't think that it works. I like the whole idea of just having a straight up East and West division, having OU, Texas, Texas A&M, Missouri. I think LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. If I miss somebody, Arkansas. Put those over there, and then put the rest of the guys over there in the East. You already know it's going to be a 3-team race each year. It's going to be Alabama, Georgia, and either Florida or Auburn, depending on who's better that year. It's going to be one of those. 3 out of those 4 teams are going to consistently be there, and it's going to come down basically. You say, all right, OU, you should come out of here because, granted, LSU had an amazing year, not last year, but amazing year. But let's all come back to reality and remember that when we weren't sitting on cloud 9 watching them, they had some of the worst quarterback play. Last year, you know what I called last year for LSU? It's a office email with the per usual attached to it. Per usual, per norm. There was nothing interesting happening down there. Brennan, he was terrible at quarterback, and they threw everybody else. I was just like, man, how many quarterbacks does it take to fix? You know what I mean? Like it just didn't make any sense, and I think it really showed why a lot of the LSU boosters and a lot of LSU administrators weren't totally sold on Coach O. Mm-hmm. So I just would say that, there's some it's recency bias, obviously, but there's some realistic perspectives that a lot of teams and a lot of fans out there in the SEC need to have about their league and about their own teams. It's one of those things where a lot of people like to say, oh, well, the last time OU won a championship was in 2000 and Texas won one in 2004. But I'm like, yeah, but we played for a lot of national championships and we played for more than you guys have. Granted, you could say the league is weak or whatnot, but then again, when you start thinking about it, TCU, Texas Tech, K-State, teams like that have actually went down there and beat some of your SEC teams. So it's not like the big
bowl games.
Yeah, in bowl games, early season
Oklahoma
games.
State too. Put that in there too. They were kicking butt too, man. Oklahoma
State.
Yeah, they're putting in work.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, you're sitting here talking about OU and this and that, and I'm like, okay, well, our best teams kind of miss each other. They hit and miss. But OU and Texas, outside of the Alabama playoff game and the LSU playoff game, we all know that OU choked that game away as far as the one against Georgia. And I think 18 Seth, they choked that game away.
I remember that game.
You're just sitting here just telling a lot of these SEC fans, like, man, you guys got to get up off your pedestal and actually realize that, hey, there's some juggernauts that's coming to your league. But just to the main point, though, I'm not a big fan of the pod talk. I just want to see 2 divisions, and I want to see us just go at it. The biggest thing is just making sure that you have enough games during the season that every team intertwines. We do not need to go. I mean, what I think that everybody's on record is saying that Texas A&M has been in the SEC for 10 years and has only played Georgia one time.
Something like that.
One time. Yeah, Georgia's never come down to A&M either. They've never been in Cal Field.
That can't happen. Florida, Georgia, Auburn, all those teams over there in the SEC, if they move to the SEC East, they have to make annual. I would say at least one every 2 years. They have to make an annual trip to Norman, or OU has to go and play them. Like they can't just miss each other every year like they've been doing, because that's another problem that I've always had with the SEC. they talk about we're the best and we have this and we have that. Well, your top teams don't play each other year in and year out. There's no reason why Alabama should be really good, and then South Carolina only God knows why they're really good this certain year. There's no reason why Alabama should not be going there and playing. And they played them 3 years ago, and so now they can't play them anymore. Like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, one thing also that I don't think it's gonna. I don't see it being implemented into the SEC. But one thing that I always liked about the Big 12s, at least since 2012 to now, the system that the top two teams. I guess since they brought the Big 12 championship back in the 2017, but the top two teams play each other in the championship game, and because that's not always, we see in the ACC, Clemson will be playing like a 7-5 Pitt or something, but that's just because they're in the other division, but they're not clearly the second best team in that conference. Same, we see that a lot in the SEC as well. Alabama will win the West, and maybe Auburn was the second best team in the conference that year, but just because they're finishing behind Alabama faces a Florida or a Georgia. So it's like, especially with adding even more top talent and more teams like OU and Texas, it's that I feel like that's going to be more of an issue if they don't address that in some way to get those top two teams to play each other in the Big 12 or in the SEC championship game. But it's not something that I hear being talked about, and I don't think if they especially if they keep it just divisions, I don't see it. I don't see that being a thing. Like we would just have to get lucky if the top two teams can meet each other in the championship game. But that's something that it would at least, because with the way the SEC is structured as well, it would at least give me some peace of mind knowing that, okay, maybe a team had like a really great schedule. They avoided a lot of the big roadblocks, but if they can get to that big game, they still got to prove it against another team that's at least at that level as well. So that's just something that I would like to see, but it's kind of a pipe dream at this point.
Yeah. But that's why, I actually like the pods just for that reason, because, you play everybody in your pod, and then the other 3 pods, you play 2 people from that pod every year. So let's say, for instance, if, like one pod has Mississippi State, Mississippi, Alabama, and Auburn, right? So I would play all my folks, Texas, OU, Texas A&M, Arkansas. And then one year I would play Mississippi and Mississippi State. And the next year I would play Alabama and Auburn. And then the third year I would go back to playing Mississippi and Mississippi State. So, I actually like that because it does, factor in that everybody's going to get to see each other at least once every other year. And I think that's perfect for the league.
You kind of made me a believer in it. I mean, I just want to see great matchups year in and year out. I don't want to see Bama get the benefit of the doubt, and their first 6 games are Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Auburn on the down year,
Citadel,
Tennessee. Yeah.
They played Alabama A&M 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And and nothing wrong with it. They're giving the schools money to come, spar with them. But just donate the money to the school. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Like, what happened to philanthropy?
It's 60-something to nothing, right?
Your SEC schools. Hell, they should have the fraternities and sororities down there donate money. You already know, trust fund babies down there. I'm just saying.
That's crazy,
man. Like I said, I just want to see great matchups. I want to see great football, but I want to see anybody duck people also and go on and win the SEC championship. And I guess that's me just being so used to the Big 12 schedule where you play everybody and you don't miss teams.
Right.
Back in the day when they had the the North and South divisions, K-State and Kansas and who else was up there in the North? I mean, a lot of those teams, they were like,
Colorado, Nebraska.
Yeah, because they were always like, oh man, we can make a run at the Big 12 championship. We don't have OU or Texas on the schedule.
Right.
Well, we got Texas on the schedule, or we got OU on the schedule. We know we're gonna lose that game, but if we, get it together, possibly can make a run at this. Yeah. So whereas every other team, they already knew what was going to happen when they came to Norman and when they went down there to
Austin. Get it right, Austin.
When they went down there to that other place down there, they say that name right there. Hey, but seriously though, next I think that I'm trying to get Seth to go, but I'm going to go to the Red River Shootout, Red River Rivalry, whatever they want to call it. I'm going to Dallas, Oklahoma, and you are invited, my friend. Okay.
Oh man, hey, I've been thinking about going. I've been trying to get my wife to go, man, and she's been wanting to go. And I think this year or last year was the year that it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Me, the wife, my stepdad, and my mom, and then COVID hits, right? And so, the wife's freaking out, of course, I'm not going. But this year, it's got to happen. It's got to happen, man.
This will be the last
happen. I got a bunch of family too in Dallas. It's got to happen.
This might be the last one where it's a pair of Big 12 teams. After this, it might be this might be played on CBS or something.
Hey, just to go back to my WWF reference, okay? I really thought this out. Look, check this out. Okay, so you can't tell me that the Big 12 is not scheming with either OSU or Iowa State, like Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels were when Bret Hart was talking about going to WCW. There's no way you can let Texas or OU leave with the Big 12 championship. It's got to be a screw job somewhere, all right? And I'm just letting y'all know, all you referees, especially at the Big 12 championship game, I don't care where it is, referees that's going to ref the Iowa State game, that's going to ref the Texas game, every game, I'm watching. All right, my eyes are here. I'm watching. There's no Montreal screw job is going down on my watch. This is a championship year. You heard it here first. OU will be the national champions in 2020.
Not happening.
And I put that on Spencer Rattler.
I'm gonna tell you, Texas won the first Big 12 championship. We're gonna win the last Big 12 championship when we go to the SEC. I'm telling you, that's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna set it off and say, we told y'all. Now it's time to go get it in the SEC. Come on, let's have some fun. But that does bring me to my next point, guys. So with us, everybody knowing that we are going to the SEC more than likely next year. How does that play on the field here for Texas and OU this year? My opinion, I think the other teams are going to go for blood. I think they about to just come. They ain't caring. What's a low block? What's a chop? I don't care. If this is illegal, y'all leaving us. We don't got no home next year. We going to the Conference USA. Oh, hell no. We about to chop the knees out. We're going to do some, some clotheslines. I just got a feeling that the other teams are out for bloodshed, and not only just the teams, but I think the refs are going to try to kill us too. That is my opinion. That's my opinion. What's your thoughts, man?
I definitely agree with I think every road game this season for OU and Texas, every Big 12 road game they play will be like the most hostile they've seen in years, if maybe ever, because like you said, all these teams, especially let's see. Does Texas play at is it in Stillwater when Texas plays OSU, or is that
it's in Austin this year?
Okay, because OU's gonna play in Stillwater, so I mean that's basically just Norman 2.0. So not worried about that one, honestly. But I can see a lot. Ames being hostile. The 20% of capacity filled at Kansas is going to be hostile. That those people, they're still going to, the scattered throughout, but they're going to be loud. But no, it's. I think I agree with you for sure. Like we're going to see some out for blood is the way to put it. Is definitely the way. It just makes me even more excited, honestly. Like I feel like it's like new energy. In this, because before it was just kind of just like ho hum, like it just didn't seem like there was the fire in these last several years on the road even though like whenever a team does pull off an upset against OU or Texas, it's the national championship for them. But it's just going into those games now, there's just a new feeling, a new sense of excitement that I'm going to be pumped up for. So I can only imagine how the players are going to feel in both OU and Texas, and the opponents. Everybody's going to be jacked.
I mean, where do I begin? I'm thinking squarely about Kansas right now, because I haven't heard anything about Kansas football except for them trying to kill their own teammate because he snitched. That's pretty much the only thing I've heard out of that camp. I just can't imagine Kansas coming to Norman or OU going to Lawrence this year, and Kansas saying, "Hey, come get a piece of this." And I'm just like,
they won't shake their hand. Seriously. In midfield, they won't shake their hand like they did Baker.
Yeah. Look,
that was crazy.
We already know OU's going to be up to play a bunch of games. Texas, K-State, and Iowa State. Okay, I know up there in Manhattan they want Ema and all that stuff right there. You can do that, but you're gonna get punched in your mouth. But I just can't. And I know that, Seth, you said it, that Baylor may be the trap game for OU this year.
Yeah.
I just can't see Baylor, Kansas, Texas Tech. I can't see some of these teams coming into Norman and just, trying to like, hey, yeah, we're out to get blood. We're out to do this. Maybe down there in Austin, but I know in Norman, you come around here doing it, you're going to get a boy ass. You're not playing with that. We're going to put you right in your mouth and see. We're going to send you over to the campus corner happy for the wrong reason. All right? Because we're going to put something under your sleeve. We're not playing with that.
Don't be worrying about Austin, Texas no more. Don't be worrying about Austin, Texas no more. Hey, I done talked to some folks. They say that the players, let's be honest, I'm going to switch subjects a little bit now. They said the old coaching regime, they didn't get along with the coaching regime, which caused them not to get along with the players. And now it's like it's a whole different field. Probably, I hate to say this, but, I see how Lincoln Riley is with his players. You can tell the players like Lincoln Riley. They like to play for Lincoln Riley. It is what it is. You can tell that they like that offense. They like playing for that team. They like playing for Lincoln Riley. And it's something similar going on right now with Sark. It's like the players like Sark, and it wasn't the same with Herman. They loved Charlie Strong. It's just not going. I mean, I don't like to knock on Charlie. Charlie just wasn't a good coach. It just was what it was.
He freaking do! Oh my God! Sark came in and
let's just
Sark effect. Oh, it's so great.
Look, I ain't saying nothing about no Sark effect. I'm just saying.
Oh man,
hey, we got bamboozled with Herman. Okay, we got bamboozled.
Cut the malarkey, man. Okay,
we got bamboozled with Herman. Hey, I knew we were done with Herman when Herman came out in the press conference and said he couldn't call plays from the field. I said, "What? I need to be in the box." I said, "Fire him. Get him out of here. Get him out of here."
You guys lost when y'all let Opie run out there with a jersey on to play quarterback. All right. Send Opie back to Andy Griffith with some candy in his pocket and tell him to sit on the sideline. We're playing football over here. Come on, man. Casey Thompson, shout out to him for being an Oklahoma product. But hey, you're in Texas for a reason, buddy. Okay? Just saying. I don't know. Hudson Card, Casey Thompson, Josh Smith, who is supposed to be Devontae Smith, Josh Moore, who's supposed to be Devontae Smith 2.0.
Anybody saying about
I don't know.
No. Anybody saying about Josh Moore? That's y'all over there saying, "Oh, he this tall, he this skinny, he got to be Devontae Smith."
Texas fans.
Mind you, he a good player.
Hold on.
Smith.
Look. Seth, I'm about to do something I've never done before. Hold on. Stephen A. time. Look at me. I want the camera on me right now. Texas fans, be serious with yourself. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You haven't been that guy in quite a while. Okay. You keep coming up. You keep coming up here to Dallas, Oklahoma, talking noise. Be real with yourself. You don't know what you have at quarterback. You're the quarterback that you want to start. He played great against a terrible Colorado team who has been terrible since they left the Big 12.
Well, Chris, according to everybody, Spencer Rattler's played great against terrible teams here in the Big 12. So what's the difference? According to everybody, right? I mean, he's been throwing against Kansas.
Okay, but there's a difference, though. You see the talent and you see the arm. Okay, Patrick Mahomes-esque. But anyways, Texas fans, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm saying right now. Okay,
you guys have no. In the Big 12, we started, we won the Big 12 the first year. We're going to win it on the last year. You heard it first here on Nino's Corner podcast, and I said it right here in front of Seth and my boy Chris, man. And Spencer Rattler, he's going to go to the league next year with no championship because Texas going to take it from him. I said it. An Oklahoma kid is going to win the Big 12 this year wearing a burnt orange uniform. I said it. You heard it here first.
Look, first off, I have a strong dislike for quarterbacks who have an S curl. Second thing is this right here. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. Besides Alfred Collins, I don't know what you guys have on defense. Your secondary, a lot of them have either graduated or went on to the league. That's great. Let's look at your offensive line. Let's look at your offensive line.
Keandre Coburn.
Yes, say names that don't produce. Okay, say more names that don't produce.
Come on. Alfred Collins is a beast. Also, Coburn is that guy in the middle, man. I'm telling you.
Also, Texas, I don't know what you have offensively as wide receivers. Outside of Josh Moore, I don't know any other names out there. Running back room. You got to understand, Texas, the first 2 games of the season, you guys are going to get tested. Okay, that's going to be great film for us to use later in the season because you got Louisiana. You have Louisiana coming in, and then you go to Fayetteville. That is not going to be a cupcake game. They are going to load the box with athletes and tell you you're going to have to make passes on this man-to-man defense if they decide to run anything else but that 4-2-6, I believe that they're running, or that whatever they're running. But still, you guys get what I'm saying. When you're sitting out there and you have Bijan Robinson, who is special, nobody denies that. Should have been at OU, but no. You sit there and you say to yourself, everybody's just gonna load the box. Everybody's going to load the box and force these quarterbacks to make big time throws. Even the simplest of throws would be big time. So it's out of the gates. It may be slow. You guys could potentially go 3-0, but you guys can also go 1-2 with your only win coming against Rice. I want you to think about that, Texas fans. I want you to think about that.
It's not going to happen. All right, I'm going to do my Stephen A. moment. No, I'm not going to do no Stephen A. I'm going to do Club Shay Shay right now. I'm going to do Shannon Sharp. We're going to go to Club Shay Shay right now. Okay? Club Shay Shay. Chris, you don't believe the words that are coming out your mouth, Chris. We're going to win the Big 12 this year. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. OU fans, just understand that you guys know we're going to win it this year. It is what it is. You can count on your fingers. You can count the years we had Charlie Strong and Tom Herman. You can count the years. Just count. Hey, Charlie Strong, you can count Herman. Neither one of them in college football no more. Strong left here, went to South Florida and lost. Took a Taggart team that was 11-1 and brought them down to, what were they, 4? And I don't want to talk about Strong. Anyways, we get it. We had 2 bad coaches in a row. We get it. Now, I understand Steve Sarkisian is not proved as a head coach as of yet.
No.
But also, Lincoln Riley wasn't either a few years ago. And we're going to make this thing happen, man. We're going to make this thing happen. Don't worry about us. We're going to win the Big 12 this year. We're going to win it in the last year of the Big 12 to say we close this out with Texas doing this thing. And then we're going to go to the SEC and whoop y'all and mop y'all on the floor over there too. I said it. You heard it here. Club Shay Shay. It is what it is.
So Seth, what I'm thinking is that the loser of the Red River rivalry, that person has to wear the opposing team's shirt.
Oh no!
And take a picture.
Come on, shirt.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I don't do best like that.
I'm just letting you know. There's I'll keep it PG because your audience is some kids out there watching that. But I mean, seriously though, we joke and everything, but I would just say that it means a lot this year for OU and Texas to do really good and go out on a good foot because on their best note. Because the thing about it is that you want to go out, even if you don't win the the championship. We all know that OU and Texas should be playing for the Big 12 championship, but you got a team called Iowa State that's down there that you guys got to deal with. But you say that you want to do really good. You want to be one of the hottest teams coming out of this season right here, going into next season. Because the biggest thing is that I think that they will be because they're ESPN guys. But you want Herb Street, you want Pollock, you want Chris Fowler on those night games. You want Reese Davis. You want Desmond Howard. You want Joel Klatt. You want all of them basically saying like, yeah, there's no way that OU and Texas go there and they have lopsided win and loss totals. Like you want to have that because it looks great on you going there. You want to be the guy that people say that was a calculated move, that was a strategic move, and you know what? They knew what they were getting themselves into. You don't want to be that team like Texas A&M and Missouri who went there and they were over their heads. Because we all know that Missouri would rather be in the Big Ten right now if they could be instead of being in the SEC. I don't think anybody doubts that.
It fits them perfectly.
It fits them perfectly. Yeah.
I mean, they're like right there in the recruiting landscape right there. Like they have no recruiting bed. Like Missouri has no recruiting bed in the SEC. Like they're a perfect fit for the Big Ten.
Ever since Gary Pinkel left, I mean, that was pretty much it.
It was a done deal.
He was Mizzou. And him and Blaine Gabbert were Mizzou. How he worked magic and miracles with that guy, I don't know.
Chase Daniel.
Yeah, Chase Daniel.
Chase Daniel
still got a job in the league, man.
Chase Daniel was a thorn in my side.
He got like a couple rings.
He still got a job in the league, don't he?
Hey, I'll hold a clipboard right now. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. With it.
That's the best job in the world, backup quarterback. Best job. Hold the clipboard and hope you don't play.
Over on the sideline throwing up signs the whole time, like, yeah. Your wife come in and say, "Babe, what are you doing in the mirror?" I'm like, "Hey, I got a job."
I gotta act like I'm working.
Nice.
Hey, man, this is gonna be a good season, though, man. We gotta do this again, man. I enjoyed this thoroughly, man. I really enjoyed it, man. You guys are awesome, man. We gotta do this, just more often. Just the YouTubers and the podcasters, man. But yeah, this was awesome, man. I think Texas, I think OU, I think we're going to do well. I put some, on my last podcast, basically stating that, I think Texas A&M went to the SEC too early. I think they went to the right conference too soon. With Johnny Football emerging in 2012, I thought if A&M would have stayed in the Big 12, they'd have ran the Big 12 that year. It would have happened. They'd have went undefeated probably. And they're probably playing for a national championship. And all it takes is some magic for one game. One game, right? One game. And they beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa that year, right? So who's to say that they couldn't beat anybody on a neutral field, with Johnny Football, who, let's just keep it real. When he let him hang, he let him hang. It was what it was. He balled, right? So
they beat OU in the Cotton Bowl.
I would just say LSU, though. He couldn't beat LSU any of the years that he was in college football. Just throw that out to you guys.
That's true. That's true. But I think they could have had an honest opportunity to play for a championship. They left too early, and I think Texas and OU are making the move right at the right time. It is the perfect time because not only does it puts us in the best conference, right? But it also takes the luster off of the guys who left early,
Yeah.
who left too early. It takes the luster off of their best season that they had in years.
Yeah.
So, I honestly think that this is the perfect move for Texas and OU. I think both teams are going to do well. I'm excited to see the Brands go against some of the, the Bamas and the Auburns and the LSUs. I can't wait for it. I think we're going to be in for a roller coaster ride, guys, for the next couple of years.
And last point I'll make on that is that the 12-team playoff. Ooh. The fact that now you can go in there and legit just say like, hey, I may drop a game or two in the SEC, but I'm going to get that SEC nod simply because I play in the SEC. So I think that one of the things that the SEC is basically doing, and I think that it just allowed me to go ahead and say and make this point right here. When you look at what OU and Texas have done and what the SEC has done as well, it's what we call it in the legal world is posturing. So you posture like yourself in a way that kind of sets you up long term, basically. So what they're doing is basically what the SEC is basically doing in the overall scheme of things is posturing themselves to say, you know what, we don't really need the NCAA. We can go and play our own schedule, our own season. And just think about this. So I was telling my uncle yesterday, Seth, I think you'll like this. If you had Michigan, Ohio State, let's throw in like a OSU, and let's throw in a USC. Okay, that's 6 more teams, and that gives you what, 20 teams, I believe, or something like that. Well, if you had 20 teams in that conference, 20 legit teams, okay, on top of what you had, right now, you could potentially say, all right, we'll have our own super conference, we'll have our own championship league. So what we'll have the top 10 teams in the league will play a playoff for let's just call it the super championship. Then the bottom half of the 10 teams, you would say, you know what, you're still going to get your piece of the pie because we're going to have another 10 game like NIT playoff system set up to where the lower half teams will still have something to play for, and you will be able to maximize each school's ability to profit off of that because you can still host home site games. And you can even say, hey, let's go get some of these bowl games to buy into it. Hell, we'll go play in the Music City Bowl with one of these like lower league teams. People will still want to go to Detroit to see Ole Miss and Mississippi State play the Egg Bowl one more time. That's just a bonus for them. Get what I'm saying? You may not sell out the seats, but it's the fact that you'll still have bodies in seats that is going to be attractive. So the SEC is just posturing themselves to potentially go out on a limb and say, you know what, we don't need you anymore. We have Ohio State, we have Michigan, we have Clemson. What do we need the NCAA anymore? You guys go ahead and play your 20-team playoff. We're going to have 2 where we split it up. I think that would be a great idea. And money-wise and numbers-wise, it just makes sense. So when you look at this, it's just all about posturing and how you're doing it. When you look at OU and Texas, it's all about posturing. They're putting themselves first and saying, you know what, we've been making good money in the Big 12. Now we can go make great money. But on top of that, we're posturing ourselves to go and potentially win the SEC and also get in on their recruits, get in on their regions, get on their TV markets, getting our brand to go even more national than what it was. Because you got to think that teams like Vandy, even though Vandy is terrible, you still are smack dab in the middle of Nashville. People are going to want to automatically you're going to attract them. And the thing about it is, I know we've had talks about legislatures and all the rest of this stuff. A state like Oklahoma that doesn't thrive all that well financially anyways, this helps us more than it hurts anything. And I think Bob Stoops was talking about that today. But it helps. When you're in a sales tax like driven state, when you're talking about numbers and everything, it just makes it worth it having Bama, Auburn, LSU, Texas A&M now, and Do I ever think that we would have a home and home with them? No, but what if Texas came to Norman one day, for a game? What if OU went to Austin? You know how crazy that would be?
It'd be nuts.
It'd be
It'd be
nuts.
crazy.
So it's a thing that people have to understand. This is not only about money, but this is about posturing yourself to potentially go above and beyond what the expectation that you already had for yourself was. So that's pretty much my little spiel on that.
I'm with you, man. I call it the 40-year decision, not the 4-year decision. It's the 40-year decision, and it's the SEC, like you're saying, making that 40-year decision to where I got a feeling. This is just my opinion that it's going to be East versus West, and I mean not just Southeast versus West. I mean East versus West as far as college football. And you're going to look at teams where it's going to be split right down the middle of Central Texas, on over, and then over to the West, where you're going to have two conferences that play and just thug it out and play each other, and then come down to the best team on the East plays the best team from the West, and you play for basically a Super Bowl. Because let's keep it honest, with the NIL right now, it is basically making college football, which is what it's always been, a minor league for the NFL. That's all it is. And now these kids can get paid for it, and so now there is no incentive for these teams to stick with the NCAA. Just like you said, Chris, they can do their own thing and go above and just beyond the law on anything that they want to do to impose on the teams. The teams can do their own thing and start their own league and just make a lot of money doing it too. Make a lot of money doing it.
A lot of money.
It's the name of the game.
It's the name of the game.
Well, cool, guys, man. Anything else you guys want to add, man? We're like an hour and a half in.
Yeah, no.
Hey, just Seth, go ahead and plug yourself, man. You always.
Okay, well, yeah. You can find some of my writings and such over at Crimson and Cream Machine. You can also find me on Twitter at Seth Oliveris, where I pretty much keep it like 99% OU stuff, and then I'll talk about just the current events of college football. So obviously, this is what we're talking about right now. But we're getting close to football season, so things are going to be heating up all over the place. So yeah, you can catch me on over there, and we can chop it up.
Hey, you can find me at Chris with a K. The way that my name is spelled on here, that is actually how you spell it. Texas fans, if you come for me in the comments, I will come back. But again, that's Chris with a _K. So, yeah, go ahead. I know the jokes are going to come in. He can't even spell his name right. Why is he talking about Texas? I'm ready for it, all right? But Seth and I, hey, we're happy that you let us on the show. We run a podcast called Horns Down Podcast. We'll send you the link if you'll link us in the video or something. But, yeah, we'll send the link. But, yeah, everybody follow us on Twitter. And Seth has amazing content for sure. And follow us and listen to the podcast. We talk weekly about everything. We have guests on our show. We'll have to have you on the show. But yeah, we drop a lot of content. We drop some good content, I believe, and we've been talking about a lot. And for everybody who wants to hear everything about the Boomer Sooner Nation, then come and get us. And hey. I hope when Texas wins the championship this year, I hope somebody goes up to the mic and says, "We're back."
All right, man. Hook 'em all day long, man. Appreciate you guys, man. I'm in this podcast. I always tell all my listeners, man, do you, man. Don't be afraid to fail. I grow your environment. Understand your brilliance, man. On that note, NinosCorner, we're out, man.
We're out.